you are having an amazing day so far. All right, so for today, we shall be doing our grade 2 English lesson on sentence types. So we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on sentence types. All right, and before we start with our lesson on sentence types, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca and we're going to log in with our username as well as our password. All right, so once we've logged in with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 2. Once we've selected our subject of language art, grade 2, the chapter that we are focusing on today is sentence types. All right, and under sentence types, the lessons that we will be doing is a sentence a statement, a question, a command, or exclamation? So we are going to find out about the different sentences or the sentence types, right? And there are 4 different types of sentences or sentence types. We have a statement, then we have a question, we have a command, and we have an exclamation. So that is the 4 different types of sentences. And our lessons that we will be doing today is on the aplusstudents.ca. So that is where we'll be doing all our tutorial lessons on aplusstudents.ca. And that is where we're going to do our tutorial as well as our test to test ourselves to see if it is a statement, question, or if we will be able to identify a statement, a question, a command, or an exclamation. All right, so we see that there's 4 different types of sentences, right? We have a statement, and then we have a question, a command, and an exclamation. And with our 4 different types of sentences, right? Each one of these sentences, they serve a purpose, right? Meaning that each one will basically go deeper into what a statement is, what a question is, what a command is, as well as what an exclamation is. All right, so with a statement, right? A statement is where you are telling someone about something, right? So a statement is where you are just telling someone about something. And it ends with a period. So if you say, I love my school, that is just you telling someone that I love my school. So that is a statement and it ends with a point, it ends with a period, right? Which is a full stop. Then we have a question. And a question asks questions, right? And with asking questions, you either you or the person that is asking the question, they expect a response. So if your mom asks you, how was your day? And then you'll maybe respond by saying, I had a good day, or my day was good, or my day was not so good. Do you have homework? Yes, I have homework, or no, I don't have homework. How old are you? I am 7 years old. Right? And that is a question. And with a question ends with a question mark. It ends with a question mark. Then we have a command. We have a command. And a command is when you are telling someone to do something. Command is where you are telling someone to do something. And a command, it's either it ends with a endpoint, a period, or it can end with an exclamation point. So a command is where you are telling someone to do something. You're telling someone to close the door, telling someone to pick up your shoes, right? Or to pick up their shoes. But as soon as you are showing strong feelings or emotions, um, and then it will end with an exclamation point. And then we have an exclamation sentence. An exclamation sentence ends with an exclamation point. And an exclamation is like a statement, right? An exclamation is like a statement. And with a statement, it basically shows strong emotions or shows strong feelings, right? Even if you are angry, you are surprised, right? That is an exclamation. It ends with an exclamation point. So even if you are saying stop, right? But you are showing some form of emotion when you say it, right? Then we end with an exclamation point. So these are the four different types of sentences. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And the lesson that we are focusing on is the sentence a statement, a question, a command, or an exclamation? All right, so we are going over the four different types of sentences. So there are four different kinds of sentences, right? And I said that there's a statement, and a statement is a sentence that tells about something, and it always ends with a period. Always. And an example of a statement is I have an older brother and a younger sister. So I have an older brother and a younger sister. All right, so that is the example of a statement. So it's basically just you saying that I have an older brother and I have a younger sister, right? And it ends with a period. It ends with a period. And then we have a question, right? And a question is a sentence that asks something. So it's asking something. And when you ask something, then you need to respond, right? So when we ask something and then we need to respond. So, and with a question, right, it always ends with a question mark. So it ends with a question mark. That is a question sentence. And then an example of a question is, how tall are you? So someone asking you, how tall are you? Or asking, how old are you? What are you doing? What are you busy with? Right? These are all questions that you ask, and it ends with a question mark. And then we have a command. We have a command. And with a command, right, it is us making a request. So a command, it makes a request or it tells someone to do something. So you're making a request or you're telling someone to do something. That is a command. And with a command, it usually ends with a period, right? So usually it ends with a period. But if the command shows strong feeling, right, then it ends with an exclamation point. An example of that is, so now I'm going to make two examples, right? One example being where it ends with a period, and an example where it ends with an exclamation point. So the first example is read the first chapter by next week. So that is your teacher telling you that you need to read the first chapter by next week, right? It's someone telling you to do something. What do you have to do? You have to read the first chapter by next week, right? It is basically like a subtle request because by next week, you're either going to do a test or you're going to have classroom discussions on the first chapter of that book. So you need to read the first chapter by next week. Open the door, right? That is a command. It's like telling someone to do something, to open the door or to close the door. Put on your shoes, right? Those are all commands. But now, if the command shows strong feeling, right? So if the command shows strong feeling and then it ends with an exclamation point, right? So it shows strong feeling and then it ends with an exclamation point. And here we have an example. Look out for that car, right? So it's like they're telling you to look out for that car. But we are showing it with more strong feeling. So that is a command, right? Where you are either making a request or you are telling someone to do something. Then we have an exclamation, right? And an exclamation is like a statement, right? It's not a statement, but it's like a statement. But it shows surprise or strong feeling, right? And it always ends with an exclamation point. All right. Then we have an exclamation, and we said an exclamation is like a statement, but it shows surprise or strong feeling, right? And it always ends with an exclamation point. Some whales are over 9 feet tall. So if you tell someone that some of the whales are over 9 feet tall, it's like saying, wow, some whales are over 90 feet long. Sorry, I was making my own thing there. So it's like you are expressing some form of feeling or surprise, like wow, right? Because now it's telling you like, what is a whale really that big? So some whales are over 90 feet long. So you can also show excitement, right? I can't wait until tomorrow. That is excitement, right? That is strong feelings. And that ends with an exclamation point. Ends with an exclamation point. So that is our four sentence, our four kinds of sentences or different kinds of sentences. And we have a statement that ends with a period. We have a question that ends with a question mark. We have a command that either ends with a period or it ends with an exclamation point. And then we have an exclamation, which ends with an exclamation point. And when it comes to the four kinds of sentences, remember we said that each one serves a purpose. So whether in conversation or in writing, right, you need to know what type of sentence you are making mention of. So when we are either having conversation with with somebody, it's either you're asking the person a question, right? You're showing emotions, strong feelings, surprises, right? Like if you see your friends after a weekend when you go back to school, like you're always jolly, jumping, like, wow, like, hey, that is an exclamation. It shows strong feelings, happy, excited, right? And these are your four kinds of sentences. All right, so now we're going to say what kind of sentence this is. So, what kind of sentence is this? The children play freeze tag. So, the children play freeze tag. We need to either say if it is a statement, if it's a question, if it's a command, or if it's an exclamation. The children play freeze tag. Are they just telling us about something? Are they asking something? Are they making a request or telling us to do something? Or is the sentence, right, showing surprise or strong feeling? What kind of sentence is this? The children play freeze tag. All right, and if we look at the sentence, right, and then we can say that this is a statement. Because it's you just telling or somebody just saying that the kids are playing or the children are playing freeze tag. So it is a statement. All right. And we see that the statement ends with a period. How many elephants are at the zoo? So, how many elephants are at the zoo? We need to say what kind of sentence this is. And it also ends with a question mark. It ends with a question mark. So if our sentence ends with a question mark, which kind of sentence is it? Is it a statement that ends with a question mark? Is it a question that ends with a question mark? Or a command ending with a question mark? Or an exclamation ending with a question mark? We need to say what kind of sentence this is. How many elephants are at the zoo? What kind of sentence is this? All right, so now if we look at even the fact that the sentence ends with a question mark, and then we're going to say this is a question. So this is a question, right? Because this person is asking a question. This person is asking a question. How many elephants are at the zoo? So whoever is going to respond and say maybe there are 10 elephants, for example. Are you as hungry as I am? Are you as hungry as I am? We need to say what kind of sentence this is. Are you as hungry as I am? So this sentence it ends with a question mark. Are you as hungry as I am? And if we say what kind of sentence this is, especially since it ends with a question mark, and then we can say this is a question. It is asking a question. So whoever that you're saying it to will be like, yes, I am as hungry as you are. Actually, I am extremely hungry. Or, no, I am not that hungry. I ate before I left the house. All right, let us do some more examples. Logan poured some ice water for us. Logan poured some ice water for us. And it ends with a period. So if we look at the sentence, what kind of sentence is this? Is this a statement? Is it a question? Is it a command or an exclamation? To make it a bit easier, right? We have four kinds of questions, right? We see that the first question ends with a period, right? The question, so the statement ends with a period. So statement ends with a period. A question ends with a question mark. A command either ends with a period or an exclamation point, and an exclamation ends with an exclamation point. So to make it a bit easier, right? If we look at our sentence, it says Logan poured some ice water for us, right? And it ends with a period. So now we can look at the kinds of sentences that ends with a period. And the two sentences that ends, the kinds of sentences that ends with a period is a statement and a command, right? So now, based on our sentence, we now need to say if it's either a statement where it is telling someone something or if they are telling someone to do something. And in this case, Logan poured some ice water for us, right? This is just someone telling someone, it's just telling something. It's just telling us about something, right? It is not making a request and it's not telling someone to do something, which means that this is a statement. This is a statement. So if you have a sentence with a question mark, there's only one kind of sentence that ends with a question mark, and that is a question. If your sentence ends with an exclamation point, then it's either a command or it's an exclamation. A command will either make a request or tell you to do something, or an exclamation is like a statement, right? So you will be able to say or identify what kind of statement it is. Did Katie like the surprise? Did Katie like the surprise? So we need to now say what kind of sentence this is. And in this case, the sentence ends with a question mark. So this sentence ends with a question mark, which means that it is asking a question. It is asking something. And if it's asking something and it ends with a question mark, then this sentence is a question. And it's a question. And a question ends with a question mark. Where are my fancy shoes? Where are my fancy shoes? We need to say what kind of sentence this is. Where are my fancy shoes? And it ends with a question mark. All right, if it ends with a question mark, then it means that it asks something. And if it asks something, then this is a question. This is a question. It asks a question, which means that you are either going to say, oh, your fancy shoes is in my room, or your fancy shoes is under your bed, or I saw your fancy shoes in the lounge, right? Wherever the fancy shoes is. So you'll respond, or I have not seen your fancy shoes. So which means that you expect a response. All right, so now we're going to begin our test, right? So we're going to begin our test on, is a sentence a statement, a question, a command, or exclamation? So we need to say what kind of sentence it is, all right? What did the teacher just say? Is this a question or a command? And this sentence ends with a question mark. So what did the teacher just say? Is this a question or a command? We need to choose one of the options. This ends with a question mark. So does it mean that this sentence is a question or a command? All right, and if we were to choose the correct type of sentence, right, then we will say this is a question. And well done, a question is correct. How many elephants are at the zoo? How many elephants are at the zoo? So what kind of sentence is this? Is this a question or is it an exclamation? The sentence ends with a question mark. Is it a question or an exclamation? How many elephants are at the zoo? Are we asking a question or are we showing strong feelings? And in this case, right, it ends with a question mark, so which means that we are asking a question, right? So we're asking a question. Where are my fancy shoes? Where are my fancy shoes? Is that a question being asked or a command? Are we asking a question or are we commanding? We are making a request or telling someone to do something. Where are my fancy shoes? And it ends with a question mark. All right, and if we look at our sentence now, right, we will say that this sentence ends with a question mark, right? So it is option one. And option one is a question, and that is correct. So question is correct. Well done. The girls watch the parade every year. So the girls watch the parade every year and ends with a period. Is this a statement where you're just telling about something? Or is this an exclamation sentence where we are showing strong feelings or emotions or surprise? The girls watch the parade every year. Is this a statement where you're just telling about something? Is it an exclamation where we are showing strong feelings or surprise? Identify the kind of sentence that this is, then we will say this is a statement, right? Because a statement firstly ends with a period and it's also just telling about something. They're just telling us that the girls watch the parade every year. So if you said a statement, then good job. Well done. Vicky goes to the park every weekend. So Vicky goes to the park every weekend. It ends with a period. Is this a question that is being asked or a statement that is being made? Vicky goes to the park every weekend. Are we asking a question or are we just making a statement, right? We're just telling about something. And this one ends with a period. Vicky goes to the park every weekend. And if we were to choose the correct sentence type, right, we will say that this is a statement. We are not asking a question, it is a statement. All right, well done. Franklin writes a letter to his grandma. Franklin writes a letter to his grandma. Is this a statement or a question? Franklin writes a letter to his grandma and it ends with a period. So is this a statement where it's telling us about something or a question where we are asking about something? And since it's ending with a period, right, we will then say that this is a statement because a statement ends with a period and a question, it ends with a question mark. So well done. Yes, this is a statement. Well done. Please wash your hands with this soap. Is this a command or a question? Please wash your hands with the soap. Is this a command where you are requesting of someone to do something or you are telling someone to do something? Or is this a question where you're asking a question? Please wash your hands with this soap. Is this a command sentence or a question sentence? All right. And if we were to choose and identify the kind of sentence that this is, then we will say this is a command. It is telling us to do something, right? To wash your hands with this soap. So a command, it is a request. So yes, a command. Well done. Well done. Can you keep a big secret? And it ends with a question mark. Can you keep a big secret? Is this a question or a statement? It ends with a question mark. Is this a question or a statement? that ends with a question mark. All right, and if we were to choose what kind of sentence this is, we will say this is a question because it's asking a question. And it ends with a question mark. All right, let's do the last one. Send me a postcard from New York. Send me a postcard from New York. Is this a command or an exclamation? Are they telling someone to do something, which is a command? Or are they showing strong feelings, showing surprise? This sentence ends with a period. Send me a postcard from New York. And if we identify what kind of sentence this is, we will say it is a command. It's telling someone to send a postcard from New York. So this is a command. So if you said a command, then well done. All right, so that is basically our 4 types of sentences, right? And we said with our 4 types of sentences, we have a statement, we have a question, we have a command, and we have an exclamation, right? And we said with a statement, it is telling someone about something. A question is like asking a question, right? And it ends with a question mark. Then we have a command, right? And a command is either where you request of something or you're telling someone to do something. And then we have an exclamation sentence, which shows strong feelings or surprise or excitement, right? And that is an exclamation. And an exclamation ends with an exclamation point. And this is the 4 different types of sentences. And with the 4 different types of sentences, you either need to know them because each one of them serve a purpose, right? So either in conversation, you need to know what type of sentence it is. It's not like when you're talking and you're like, oh, that is a command. Oh, that no. You just need to know because if you're asking a question or if somebody's asking you a question, then you need to respond. You will even be able to pick up if someone is either showing strong feeling or surprise in their tone of voice. That is if you are having a conversation with someone, and then you'll be able to pick up the different sentences. Right? All right, so before we end off, if we look at the 4 different types of sentences, right, which is either a statement, a question, a command, or an exclamation, right? We're going to look at this activity of sentence types. And then we are going to say if it is either a sentence, a statement, a question, a command, or an exclamation. My teacher is nice. My teacher is nice. If we look at that sentence, right? My teacher is nice, and it ends with a period. Do you think that that sentence is either a statement or it's a question, a command, or an exclamation? My teacher is nice. This is someone just telling something or telling about something. And if someone is just telling about something, and then we can say this is a statement. and it ends with a period. Is my teacher nice? And it ends with a question mark. So is my teacher nice? It ends with a question mark. We need to say what type of sentence this is. Is it a statement? Is it a question? Is it a command? Or is it an exclamation? Is my teacher nice? And it ends with a question mark. And if we identify the type of sentence, then we will say this is a question that is being asked. A question. Eat your vegetables. Number 3 is eat your vegetables. We need to say if this is a statement, a question, a command, or an exclamation. And it ends with a period. And we see that there's 2 sentences that ends with a period, which is a statement and a command. And with a statement, is it telling us about something or is it telling us to do something as a command? And in this case, it is a command. It is telling someone to do something. They're telling that person to eat their veggies. Your teacher is nice. Your teacher is nice. And it ends with an exclamation point. And we see that there's 2 sentences that types of sentences that ends with an exclamation point. It's either a command if it shows strong feeling or an exclamation sentence. And if we look at the sentence that says, your teacher is nice, right? It is not commanding. It is basically just a statement. So this is an exclamation. This is an exclamation sentence. The squirrel gather hazelnuts. The squirrels gather hazelnuts. Is this a statement, a question, a command, or an exclamation? The squirrels gather hazelnuts. All right, so this is basically just telling someone something, which means that this is a statement. And then do squirrels gather hazelnuts? Into the question mark. So this is a question. And gather those hazelnuts. It's like telling someone to do something, which means that this is a command. And our last sentence will be an exclamation, which is the squirrels gather nuts. All right, so that is our different sentences, right? And we went over what a statement, a question, as well as a command or exclamation is. And remember, we said that with the 4 different types of sentences, right? Each sentence serves a purpose, right? Each sentence serves a purpose. All right, so grade 2, this is now the end of our lesson on sentence types. Thank you very much for joining the class. Thank you very much for being interactive. You should have an amazing day further. Goodbye.